Hi guys, I designed my 5-step educational program to freedom from addictions after 3 years self-research. I felt many times when I tried to quit my addictions. Sometimes I wanted to give up, but I also wanted to live longer and be there for my only son. You see, I could not discover how to reach freedom from addictions if I wasn't addicted to fattening foods and to nicotine. Because I was born with a heart disease and because the programs that I tried to quit my addictions failed, I had to find a solution by myself. I designed the 5-step program from combining my studies in neurological and behavioral science and fear management, but also from my 19 years experience coaching people. It may sound too complicated. However, I teach those steps in a very easy and simple way so even the layman can understand and follow. Look, I can tell you one thing, and that's 100% true. If someone is eager to change his lifestyle and become healthier, he can succeed with my 5-step program. And he can walk for freedom from his addiction if he follows the law of repetition, because the same law caused the beginning of all addictions. You see, no one gets addicted to something by using it once or twice, but repeatedly using it over and over until addiction sets. I start to understand why it was hard for me to stop my addiction when I worked in a telemarketing to sell diet and medical insurance. I had a chance to talk with hundreds of people and listen to their life problems. This helped me to better understand how people act and behave when they feel fear. I believe all addicts are afraid to quit their addiction because they believe something not good is going to happen to them after they quit. They also believe that they will experience relapse and fall back to the addiction. Because of that, many overweight and smokers don't even try to quit because they don't have any reason to give up what the drug gives them mentally. And they don't know how to replace the drug's mental feeling good sensation with natural healthy ways. And there are many of them. But before I'm going to show you the 5 steps to freedom from addictions, I need you to do something very important to understand why people fail or succeed in their life. Otherwise, don't even bother to continue with this program because you are going to fail before you start. So please, don't waste your time. In a minute, I will ask you to stop the video, close your eyes, and visualize yourself in the past before you became smoker, overweight, or obese. Now, ask yourself how your life was before the addiction started. Do you remember how easy it was for you physically to do whatever you wanted? You were free of diseases, you looked much better, and had more self-confidence, right? So stop now the video and visualize yourself in the past, before the addiction started. It is important that you do it now. So, you are back. Great. Could you see yourself having a normal weight or being a non-smoker? That's excellent, because if you have any goal you wanted to reach and you cannot visualize yourself doing it and getting there, you're probably not going to make your dream come true. For example, if you wanted to become a Navy SEAL or a ballet dancer and you were born with physical challenges, I think it would be better to seek another dream. But if you could see yourself living life in a normal body weight and without smoking cigarettes, I can tell you that with proper knowledge showing you how to do it, and with your determination, you can live life without the addiction. Other people just like you did it, and you can do it too. So let's start with step number 1. In this step, you need to disarm the unreal fear and build a positive faith. Without it, you cannot continue to step number 2. Look, fear is part of all animals' DNA. Fear tells us about dangerous situations. If we were in a real frightening situation, any of us will do one of the following 3 things. Number 1, we will run away for our life. Number 2, we will fight for our life. And 3, we will freeze up without any ability to do something, and some of us may be even going to pee in their pants. However, the fear for quitting the addiction is not real at all, and it resides only in the memory of the subconscious mind. But it also feels very real when the addict tries to quit. Can you imagine what would you do if you were left without water, food, or air? You will kill for it, right? But the unreal fear of quitting the addiction causes addicts to act just like they're going to lose their life. As a fact, addicts to food, nicotine, and other drugs cannot imagine their life without the drug. I tell my students that if they release the unreal fear and build a positive faith, they are already 50% on the way to freedom. In step number 2, the addict needs to know who is the real enemy and how to build a winning strategy. Addicts believe that their war is against smoking tobacco or eating fattening foods, and the best strategy offered to them is fighting the cravings with the willpower, right? However, all relapses happens because one day willpower was not there to guard. As a fact, in the day when relapse occurred, willpower to smoke only 1 cigarette or to indulge on fattening food was stronger than not doing it. It is logical to say that if you don't know who's your enemy, you cannot develop winning strategy. But better yet, if the enemy resides in your brain and you are trying to fight it with your willpower, most likely relapse is waiting for you around the corner. So who's the real enemy in addiction? Look, 100% of addicts to fattening foods and nicotine knows that it wasn't a problem to quit the addiction. After all, people are losing weight and quitting smoking all the time. The real problem was to deal with the cravings and the voices coming from the mind trying to convince the addict to return to his automatic behavior. Eventually, it causes the addict experience another relapse. That's why in step number 3, we are learning to learn proper communication with the place in our mind called the subconscious. Most of us know only about the conscious, which is recognized by the 5 senses. That's how we experience life. But the human mind has 3 parts that make us react and behave. Listen, most addicts are fully aware about the outcome of their addiction. They just cannot ignore their deteriorating health. But yet, there's another powerful force in the equation, and is coming from the mind, and most people are not familiar with it. Thus, they cannot properly respond to this action. I want you to know that the subconscious is part of you, and therefore it wants the best for you. But communication or lack of communication with it can cause the subconscious to be your best friend or your worst enemy. The ability of most overweight, obese, or smokers to free themselves from addiction shows that the subconscious mind is their enemy and not their friend. After trying a number of unsuccessful times to quit the addiction, the addict surrenders to his subconscious mind without any communication or negotiations. This happens until one day the fear of dying from the disease is greater than the fear of quitting. It usually happens after the age of 65, when it might be too late. My students reported having easier time approaching their final quitting day after handling correctly their unreal fears and false beliefs. That's why only in step number 4 my students choose the final quitting day. Because only after understanding who's their enemy, I could teach them how to build a winning strategy for freedom from their addiction. Therefore, if obese or addict to nicotine desires freedom from the addiction and learns the first 3 steps, they can approach the final quitting day without fears and with a strong belief that this time there is only success until reaching the target. Now you see why quitting without proper knowledge on how to face the challenge causes emotional relapse? But wait, I can teach you all the theory to freedom, but knowledge by itself does not necessarily bring results. We know that practice makes perfect progress, right? In our life, we learn how to do many things. However, only if we practice, we can perfection what we have learned, right? That's why in step number 5, I will teach you how to find what you love to practice your freedom. In this step, I'm teaching how to gradually you can shift from destructive to healthy lifestyle. I'm also teaching the 10 steps anyone can take to change their lives and reach realistic goals. Just bear in mind that walking on the moon is not a realistic goal for most of us. But step number 5 can also give you the best opportunity to help others who are addicted and want to reach freedom, just like you did. Because if you follow step number 5 for a few short months, the law of repetition will take place. It simply means that you will be able to coach others to reach their freedom. At this point, it will be in your hand the power to teach and coach others to freedom. Maybe now you are thinking, it's not possible that you are going to do it. And you are right. You cannot do it now because first you need to walk the 5 steps before you can coach others to follow you. Now tell me, don't you think that giving other people the gift of health and life is the most rewarding feeling of all? This is the best time for you to start taking care of yourself and receiving rewards for that. Look, maybe now you are thinking that you cannot do it. You already tried different methods that cost you a lot of money and you're still fighting your addiction. Maybe that's why now you are out of motivation. But what kind of hope are you going to leave for your kids and grandchildren? Are you aware that in one generation's time, 50% of adults in the US will be obese and the majority of the rest will be overweight? If you're still counting on your government to find a solution to addiction to fattening food and nicotine, I can advise you to wake up. Until now, it didn't happen, and it's going to continue like that in the future. That's why your family needs you now more than ever. And you have to be their role models. Their future depends on you, and now it's your responsibility to act.